Political satirist P.J. O'Rourke has given his opinion on everything from the vanities of political correctness to the virtues of bachelorhood. He is the best-selling author of 8 previous books, including All the Troubles in the World and Parliament of Horrors. He's been a staff writer for Rolling Stone for nearly 2 decades and has written for a variety of other publications, such as The New Republic and Esquire and Vanity Fair. His latest book is all about money. It is called Eat the Rich, a treatise of economics. Joining me now, P.J. O'Rourke. Welcome back to the broadcast.
Thank you. Thank you. I got to quit. We got to quit meeting this way. I have to write a book to see you.
Well, we'll change that.
Okay.
How do you think the country's doing?
Actually, I think the country's doing fine, except that I think that
as we approach the end of the millennium.
Yeah, I think the American public has indulged in its appetite for baloney for the past 6 years. A variety of different kinds of baloney. There's been some right-wing, I mean, I'm a right-winger myself, but there's been some right-wing baloney. That born-again Christian stuff does not go down with me at all. I don't care for that.
You're not having dinner with Ralph Reed?
No, I'm not having dinner. I mean, I got a sister who's born again, you know, doesn't quite handle snakes, but she does talk in tongues, which is interesting.
Are you serious?
Oh, I am serious.
Has she tried to convert you?
Early on, I would get the occasional late-night phone call telling me that Jesus loved me, and I pointed out to her that Jesus loved me at a convenient hour of the afternoon also. And,
Beth's call me then.
She hasn't been. She kind of gets on my other sister though. They're twins, and
one is born again and one is not.
One is not, and the born again one we'll call the not born again one, the just one that's just been born once. And say, we won't be together in heaven.
Is that right?
Yeah.
She does that.
Yeah. And the other sister gets upset.
We're twins. We've gone through every stage of life, but when we die, boom, it's over.
So my other sister gets upset and calls me, and I say, "Of course you're not going to be together. Neither one of you are getting in. I'm not either, you know. So of course you're not going to be together in heaven."
Do you get with age more right-wing, or have you sort of settled in where you are?
Well, it's funny. Doing this last book has been. I tend to be actually more libertarian in certain ways than really right-wing.
A plague on all government.
Yeah, and I've been going around for years saying government is horrible, keep government out of this, keep government out of that. Doing this book on economics, which we're supposed to be talking about instead of Monica, I'm supposed to be plugging, I'm supposed to be selling something here, you know.
All right, we're going to get to that. Eat the rich.
I got a kid now, you know. I got to think about these things. I was surprised to find out how important government is. Rule of law is really crucial. Rule of law is what makes a place that has all the economic freedoms that Hong Kong has into a very prosperous place. Now, Albania has all the economic freedoms that Hong Kong has, and then some, you know. Not such a prosperous.
All right, let's talk about some of the countries in this book. You look for a good capitalism, and you found it on Wall Street.
Well, bit of irony in that title. I mean, it's good in the sense that
it works.
Well, it works when it works.
Yeah,
when it's good, it's very, very good, and when it's bad, it's horrid.
When you went looking for bad capitalism, where'd you find it?
Albania. Albania. I was looking at Wall Street, and Wall Street's not good necessarily in the sense that it always goes up, because we know it doesn't. But it's good in the sense that it's conducted under rule of law. It's conducted, you sell stock to somebody and you'll get the money for it. Maybe not as much money as you wanted, but you will get the money. If you buy stock from somebody, you'll get that stock. We live under rule of contract law. There's civil lawsuits can be brought against. And the dealings of the stock market, while they're very complicated, they're transparent. I mean, you can understand what's going on there if you take enough time to learn the jargon and so on. You can see what's happening. When you go to a place like Albania, none of that is true. And I went to Albania because they had these wonderful pyramid schemes. And the whole government, the whole country collapsed when the pyramid schemes collapsed. Pyramid schemes where you put your money in, and your money is used to pay the next person down the line who puts, you know, and so on. And they were giving returns of like 50% a month. And this went on for a couple of months, and then it went, you know, it was a chain letter. The country was destroyed by a chain letter. It went bluey. And when that happened, all the Albanians got so mad that they rioted, they tore the country apart, they stole all the guns out of the armies, out of the army bases. They stole 1 billion rounds of ammunition. They stole tanks. They ripped everything apart. And I'm going, wait a minute, I mean, we all know chain letters are idiotic, but how do you destroy a whole country with a chain letter? What went on? Why was everybody in Albania in this chain letter? And it took me about 5 minutes. I got there and it took me about 5 minutes to find out. I found the English-speaking guy who understood finance, ran a little English-speaking paper there. I said, what happened here? Were people in Albania just naive because they've been communists for all these years and didn't understand about money? He said, no. He said, pyramid schemes had collapsed already in Russia and Poland places. I said, well, what gave? He said, they knew that you can't get a 50% a month return on your money. They knew that. They thought this money was being used to run drugs, run guns, launder mafia money all over Europe. They didn't think they were innocent victims when these things collapsed. They thought that they were the perpetrators. That's why they were so mad. They thought they were the criminals. The nice old Albanian lady putting her life savings in the pyramid scheme was operating with intent. You know, I mean, she was with intent to defraud. So it was, and that's so often the case with fraud the world over. Is that, you know, you can't cheat an honest man. I'm not sure that's true. I have to see what happened to my 401k today.
So you went and looked for good socialism. You found it in Sweden.
Sweden works. Sweden works. Sweden doesn't work as well as it should. These are very hard-working people, very organized, very disciplined, and Sweden's had one of the lowest growth rates in Western Europe. It's had a lot of trouble with inflation, which they've kind of gotten over. It's got a huge, huge deficit, much, much larger than our national debt, and of course our deficit is very low at the moment, and their deficit's still, and so everything's kind of slowing down. But it works in the sense the Swedes pay ridiculous taxes, but they get huge benefits for these taxes. This works because it's a small country and the Swedes all basically agree on the benefits that they want. Well, they want free ice skating. Yeah, free ice skating. You know,
it's the least you should ask if you live in Sweden.
Yeah, and you know, it costs them an arm and a leg, but they get it. And of course, now they're starting to turn into a different kind of country. They have a lot of Turkish immigrants. They have a lot of people from the Middle East and from Africa who are maybe not so hot on the idea of free ice skating. Personally, who can blame them? So now that the Swedes don't all exactly agree on what benefits they're getting, is having a little, but nonetheless, it works. And really, you can make any system work if it is lawful and democratic. I mean, some systems will work a little better than others, but it's the unlawful, non-democratic, the arbitrary systems like bad socialism.
Like Cuba.
Cuba. Cuba is the pits. It is the pits. It is the worst. It is so bad. It is.
You mean you don't like the country, or you don't like their economy?
Oh, no. It's their economy I don't like. It's a beautiful country.
Yeah,
the people
I've always
really,
wanted to go there.
People are really nice. But you see 15-year-olds prostituting themselves to feed
But
their
everything
family.
we hear is how it works and how the level of how the malnourishment has declined and all kinds of health standards are up. And
it's not true.
They've done a lot for literacy and all those things.
They have the people in charge of statistics in Cuba are also the people in charge of the guns and the secret police. I mean, would you normally believe something the secret police reported to you?
So the golden rule is the numbers are what we say they are.
Numbers are what we say we are. I said that Cuba, like mainland China and North Korea and a few other places, it violates what I call, in this book, a rule for happy living. Never let the people who have all the money be the same people as the people who have all the guns. So it just isn't, you know.
It doesn't work.
No,
yeah.
no.
Why did you choose "Eat the Rich" as a title?
I stole it.
You did?
Yeah, it was a T-shirt. I saw it on a T-shirt. It was an Aerosmith song. I later found out it was an Aerosmith song, but then somebody else who was hipper. You know, I work for Rolling Stone, so I'm surrounded by people much hipper than me. So the hipper people said, "That's an Aerosmith song. You stole that from an Aerosmith song." And then people hipper than them, like the interns and stuff at Rolling Stone,
yeah, right,
who've got the eyebrow piercings and stuff. They said, "No, Motorhead. Motorhead did that." Motorhead was Motorhead. But I actually saw it on a T-shirt in Beirut in 1984. And the other night at a reading,
"Eat the Rich."
Eat the Rich.
In Beirut.
Yeah, there weren't any left. They already gobbled up. And somebody stood up at a reading and said that they had seen it on McDougal Street at a T-shirt shop in 1978. So I still don't know where I stole it from. But I've always kind of liked the phrase.
Now, did you set out to write this book? I mean, or did it begin with one assignment and you decided that this was worth doing?
No. This was more calculated. Usually, I kind of throw the stuff I've got around together and kind of pretend it's a book.
Exactly.
And I've been writing
down
about
that road before.
Yeah, I've been writing about politics for a while. Throw all the political pieces together and say, a book about politics.
But here, this began with an idea.
It did.
You wanted to understand
I wanted to understand economics because I just couldn't, I didn't. I don't think most of us do. And most of us are scared away from it in school because it's just all graphs and
boring
and hard, too hard.
And hard, too, yes.
That's right. And you can't BS your way through it.
Boring and hard is really
boring
tough
and
to get
hard,
over.
bad combination. So and it was from years of covering politics and wars and riots and elections and stuff. I noticed that there was a big economic side to all these things. And I thought, and I don't understand this stuff. I don't even
You and Tom Friedman came to the conclusion about the same time.
Yeah. It is.
Although Tom takes a different look than you do.
It's somewhat different tack on this. So I really set out to read stuff about this, and I didn't get too far. So I backed up.
Start with
Wealth
of Nations or
in the end,
or what did you start with?
I didn't make it all the way through either of those, I got to confess. Nor did I make it all the way through John Maynard Keynes, the theory, everything, But I did. I tried to read.
But you could love Milton Friedman.
I could love Milton Friedman. Yeah. Milton Friedman was extremely valuable here.
He's a great guy. I mean,
he's totally really, cool, isn't he? His wife, totally the two of them are just completely great, and they're so happy. It's just nice to see in this world. A guy who was a Nixon economic advisor, oddly enough, because Nixon was a terrible economist, but he. I'm trying to think of his name. He wrote a book called New Ideas from Dead Economists. And it is
Ben Stein? Or was it Stein or Oakham?
No, it'll come to me in a moment. Stephen Landsberg, the armchair economist, this was very good. There are things out there
that you could read to get a start.
Yeah.
And you would sit at a desk and read this stuff?
I would, yeah. And then I would go back to the college textbooks, and I actually did read the whole of a couple of...
Went back to Samuelson for a little instruction.
I absolutely did, and I discovered that it was just completely full of words we can't say on television. I mean, there was a tremendous amount of baloney in it. That economics is really, fundamentally, it's common sense. It's about it's about our whole behavior in the material world, and that is 9/10 common sense and 1/10 completely incomprehensible.
You have any heroes?
Well, Milton and Rose Friedman would certainly be high on the list. I think you got to always be careful about living heroes. I think it was Harry Truman that said that you should never erect a statue of a living man because you never know when you're going to
do before it goes.
That's right. But Milton and Rose they're on in years a bit. I don't think they're going to turn up and do anything too wild. I have, but there are a lot of people around that I have a tremendous respect for. Speaking of people on the sort of intellectual side, for lack of a better word. For instance, Charles Murray, that wrote The Bell Curve.
You like him?
I like him a tremendous amount.
You like his ideas?
I think he was so wrong. I mean, The Bell Curve is just so wrong. But I love the fact that Murray is willing to,
he really is
willing to face the consequences of any idea. And it's a real shame. The Bell Curve's a real shame to me because what it does is it casts, a pall on some previous work that he did, The Pursuit of Happiness, and the book that he wrote about the failure of the welfare system, that are brilliant books. And his being involved with the Bell Curve is...
How much of the success of your books is just your general reputation, A, as a humorist, as a satirist, and B, the title you choose?
Well, titles are very important.
Yeah, exactly.
Titles are very
important. Titles could play a big role.
Titles are huge in that respect, because I did a book a couple of years back, and it was kind of a throw
Parliament
together.
of Horrors? Or?
No, Parliament of Horrors
was good.
I did one called Age and Guile Beat Youth, Innocence, and a Bad Haircut. To which it had two pictures of me, one from back in the 70s and one current on the cover. And no one, of course, could remember the title, and nobody liked the title. And Meatloaf, the musician, with whom I was sharing a round table at a Cleveland radio show, don't ask, looked at the book cover and said, "Which one's the bad haircut?" Good point. So,
P.J. O'Rourke, Eat the Rich, a treatise on economics. Thank you for coming.
Hey,
pleasure.
Thank you for having me here.
Thank you for joining us. See you next time.